What's going on, everybody? I'm just kidding. I had to do that though. My beard's getting long. It don't look long when it's pushed down, but it's getting pretty long. But anyway, I actually, during this quarantine, I've just said, forget it. I'm just going to let it all grow. I've not cut my hair, beard, nothing, other than trim my mustache. It gets on my nerves. But anyway, today what we're going to be doing is we are going to be installing this Banks engineered ram air intake on the Jeep. So this actually looks like one of the easiest cold air intakes I've ever put on, to tell you the truth about it. And I'm going to tell you the reason I went with Banks. Gail Banks has a really good, or Banks Power has a really good reputation in auto sports and stuff like that. And everything I read online about intakes for a Jeep Wrangler either said that's the best one, or there was something in that article. There was never anything I read down through there that didn't mention a Banks intake for a Jeep Wrangler 3.6. So I was like, well, if everybody on these forums and stuff are saying Banks is the way to go, then let's buy the Banks and see how it works. But first thing I want to do is let y'all hear this, the factory one, which is little or nothing. But I'll start the Jeep. It is actually warmed up. I did a video. I'll probably do a video later about the sound quality or sound difference inside the vehicle. So I've already done that video for the factory one. So the Jeep is warmed up. I can rev it up, no big deal. I already got oil through the engine and stuff. Everything's already lubricated. But just from looking at it, this thing looks pretty simple to install. I probably just jinxed myself, but if they would have put the 3 pegs you have to put into the bottom of the little plastic piece that goes right here, there's only like 3 clamps and a couple of clips that hold this cable on, and and your mass airflow, you got to change that out on all of them. And that is the part I dread the most, to tell you the truth about it, because most vehicles like my Roush and my Tundra and stuff like that have these mass airflow sensors that screw in. Not the Wrangler. And I know why. This is made for off-road, and people take them off-road a lot. So it's actually friction fit with an O-ring seal. And everything I've watched, that's the difficult part. But I think I can use a little bit of like dish detergent, soapy water type stuff, and lube it, seal a little bit. Hopefully it slides right in. But without further ado, let me start this thing up and give you a couple revs, and you can hear what it sounds like stock, or lack thereof. Okay, so that right there, pretty lackluster. So let's get this thing installed and see if we can liven this up a little bit, because I like to have a little bit more noise. I put intakes on pretty much everything I own. Some people say you don't need them. Some people say, they do a little bit. I don't know if they do anything, but they sure sound better. So let me get all this stuff, everything I need set, laid out, and I'll be right back. Okay, so this is pretty much everything you're going to get in the kit. You have some owner's manuals and instructions and decals and stuff like that. You have your filter. This is the big plastic piece that goes around the filter. You have your intake tube with your Banks on the side. Now this is like a brushed aluminum. I'm going to leave that on there. I'm usually not a big aluminum fan, but I kind of like how they cut that out right there. So I am going to leave that on there. Then you get your Banks fitting that goes in between this or your tube and your intake. And then you have your small parts kit. That's what I mean. This is going to be a pretty easy. When I said fitting, it goes on your throttle body, not your intake. But y'all knew what I meant. But that's everything you get, everything. So there is some pre-fit up to this, and then while I'm doing that, my engine's going to cool down a little bit from where I just drove it, and then we'll get the old one out and put this thing in. Okay, I believe these are the only tools I'm going to need. If I need more, I'll add them throughout the video, but you're going to need some kind of pliers. to put on your E-clips. I think you can do them with your fingers, but it's just going to be easier on your hands if you have some kind of pliers. You're going to need a flathead screwdriver or an 8mm socket to take off these hose clamps right here. It's just easier for me to use a socket. You're going to need a 10mm socket to take off these bolts right here. And I'm not sure if I'll need an extension or not, so I'll put that in there. But I think that's about going to do it. Like I said, if I need more, I'll add it through there. But I'm pretty sure this is pretty minimal tooling to put this on. Okay, so the first thing we're going to do is we have these 3 pins right here that go through the bottom. And what I was talking about the pliers, you have these E-clips right here. And there should be 3 of them. And really the only other thing in the pack was 3 clamps. Of course, we know where all those go. 2 clips to hold on that radiator hose, and this grommet. That's all of it. But these little pins here, you'll have one that goes through the front right here, and I'm gonna try to put this on with my finger just to see if I can do it. But that's pretty close. I don't think I can really get in there to that. So what I'm gonna do, just make a lot of noise, is take these pliers right here, a little trick of the trade, and pop it in like that right there. Now, one thing you want to do when you get these things in there, and trust me, I know this, you want to spin them. Just spin it with your finger and make sure it's seated. If you don't spin that, it might pop back off, and then this could become loose. Even though it feels tight now, if you don't spin that, it might not be seated. So I'm going to put these other 2 in, clip them, spin them, make sure they're seated, and we'll move on to the next part. Okay, next I'm going to go ahead and insert this grommet in this hole right here on this tube that has Banks wrote on it. Hopefully this thing goes in fairly easy. I've had some that went in easy. I've had some that sucked putting in. I don't think it really matters which way it goes in. And let's just find out if this is going to be an easy one or a sucky one. That's going to be an easy one. It popped right in. Looks like that right there. Okay, next thing we need to do is install the filter inside this box and this tube onto the filter. Now, one thing I want to show you is there's a little arrow on this tube right here on the bottom. You can see it right there. Now, there are these 2 little lines right here, and those need to line up with that arrow. So when this is in the tube, it's actually going to be like oblong in the tube. The longer flat sides are going to be side to side, and the narrow ends, more rounded ends, are going to be top to bottom. So the first thing I'm going to do is actually put this on right here. Let's see. Oh man, it's always nice whenever they give you a clamp that actually fits. Now I want to see which way is the best way for me to have this thing on here to be able to tighten it down. Because you're going to have to pull it through here and tighten it down through this little hole right here. So I think I'm actually going to want it the other way. I think this way right here is going to be the best way for me to do that. Now what I'm going to do now is just kind of tighten this down just a little bit so it doesn't fall off. Now I don't want it super tight. I just want it where it's not going to fall off when I'm trying to put that in there. You could see it wasn't crazy stable. It was just falling off in the box, and I just want to make this tight enough to where it'll fit over this, but not like fall off just setting it in the box. Put this thing in here, and then we're going to want to line up these holes. Is that going far enough? See what it did. You may have to get this in a light to be able to tell where those plugs are. I actually want to take this back out and look at something, because it's like it's blunting up against that little arrow, and I just want to make sure that's actually on there far enough to clamp it down. That appears to be it. So once you reach the little mark here, you've pretty much bottomed out, and that's when you know you've got it on right. So there again, we'll have to kind of get this in the light so I can see to line up those marks. Snug it up good. You don't want it coming loose on you. You don't want air to be able to get in between that, dirt and debris and stuff, to be able to get in between that clamp. That should be good right there. And that's what the finished product should look like. This will set like that right there, and then you can see that the filter sits long ways inside it. Okay, so the next thing I'm gonna do is pop these radiator hose loose right there, the overflow hose, and take these two bolts out right here. And actually first I'm gonna go ahead and pop the inlet cover off. You gotta take that off anyway, might as well go ahead and do it. You don't have to take it off right then, but it may make life easier in a minute. I would have had to take it off whenever I got over there, so I might as well do it now. There's some long bolts. Okay, so the next thing I'm gonna do is I'm just gonna go ahead and pop these 4 screws off right there, just like I'm actually going to change my filter. And I'm gonna go ahead and pop this hose off right here, because that hose has to come off too. The next thing we gotta do is take off this clamp right here. Again, I have found that a ratchet makes this job much easier. Okay, should be good. Now we can just pull this off, and there should be a clip right here that we need to unplug. And right there's a little clip for like your mass airflow sensor. And we have this whole piece that comes off. Set it down easy, because your mass airflow sensor does need to come out of that one and go in the new one. And then this should just wiggle up out of there, I believe, and it does like that right there. There's no bolts or anything that hold that in, it just pops right up out. Okay, this next part is kind of the tricky part. Now, I looked at this and I compared them both, and when this thing goes back in, this little tab right here, you can see there's a little tab we actually have to lift up on and twist this thing counterclockwise to get this mass airflow sensor out, and it is little. I don't know if you can see it right there. You don't want to damage that. Looking at this thing and how it's actually sitting right here, this will be facing this way. This mass airflow sensor, the little tab, needs to be facing back towards the throttle body. So what we're going to do now, and I don't know if I can really get this in camera good, is I'm going to try to lift up on this right here just a little bit. Try not to break it. And turn this counterclockwise. And I wish I had my bigger table up here, but it is what it is. I may have to take a little screwdriver to kind of pry it a little bit and turn it at the same time to try. There we go. I don't know how far it turns. I don't want to break this thing, but I don't know how far it's supposed to turn. It's like it hit a wall right there, but it's still, there we go. There we go. Now it's out. That was nerve-wracking, because I'm sure this little bitty piece right here isn't cheap. Now what I'm going to try to do is put it back in first without any thing on it to help lube it up. Nope. Push straight through. And that's what I was afraid of. That grommet is rubbery, and there's a rubbery piece on that. I don't know if I could put it on here and then force it in. I don't think I can. So I'm going to have to put this back in here again. And if you'll notice, I already have the dish soap out here. So what I'm going to try to do is clean my hands first of all. Okay. So what I'm going to try to do is put a little dish detergent around this O-ring right here, and maybe a little bit on the inside of this if that's not enough. Just a little bit. I don't want to get it on anything of importance in here. Just enough to kind of make this slicker. And this is the part where I've seen everybody struggle with. Everybody that I've seen install this thing says this is the hard part. So let's see if that did the trick. Come on. We seem to be going. I believe we're seated. I believe we are seated. We're pretty close to it. All right, there we have it. Use just a little bit of dish detergent. Don't get it on the actual thing itself. You should be good. Okay, so the next thing I'm gonna do is I'm gonna go ahead and install this little spacer right there, that little coupling. I'm gonna put my clamp on again. I'm glad they gave me clamps that fit. And we'll turn this one around this way like the other one was. Get that snugged up good. Nothing's gonna get in there, and there we go. Now you can turn this where the banks is down, but I don't know, I just kind of like the branding, so I left it up. We've almost got this done. Now the next thing we need to do is actually plug this up again. Here, snap. There we go. Snapped in place. Now we just need to, I've got it wedged. There we go. Just need to fold this thing down in here. Kind of line up where these holes go right here. They actually push down in there. I got to put the clamp on. Don't forget to put your clamp on. Or this right here is going to happen to you. There we go. You have to do it after you've got it down in there. That like that. Again, make sure everything is seated where it should be. All right, let's snug it up. We should be pretty close. There we go. Next, I'm going to take this hose right here, pop it in these two little clamps. You're going to use the factory bolts that had it held in. Holding it up. It does go above that, I do believe. Like that right there. Snug it up like so. And the last thing we need to do is plug this right here in right here, like that right there, and that should actually have it. It should be done. Just check everything, make sure everything's pushed in. All your plugs right here are pushed in. That's all tight. This down here is plugged in. That's plugged in. These are on. All we gotta do now is put on the cover and we should be good to go. Okay, now we have it all installed. I'm just gonna check for hood fitment, make sure it still shuts right, doesn't hit anything. Everything looks like it clears, so we're good there. We're gonna do a first startup and see what it sounds like. Okay, there it is. It does sound a little bit better. Nothing crazy, but it does sound a little bit better. So I'm happy with it. I'm happy with the way it looks. I'll put some pictures on here at the end of that. And I do want to say one thing I didn't do that you should probably do. And that's unhook your battery. I'll probably have that in, script at the beginning of the video, step one. I didn't do that. I fired it up, revved it, no check engine lights or anything like that. Maybe I just got lucky. But anytime you're dealing with like a mass airflow sensor or something electrical, you should always unhook your battery. And I meant to do that. I just got in a hurry to make this video and, well, things happen. I'm human. I forgot to do it too. I'm sure it's not the first time it's ever happened. Luckily, it didn't mess mine up. But like I said, I will probably put that in text at the beginning of this video to unhook your battery so that you all don't forget like I did. But if you do, hopefully you don't have any issues like me. Very simple install. The hardest part was just putting that little mass airflow sensor in, but really once I used a little bit of Dawn, that wasn't even hard either. Now I'm gonna take this thing out for a drive, see what it sounds like while I'm driving down the road and, see how it sounds. I'm pretty anxious to see how it sounds driving. People say it sounds good. Everything seems to be hooked up good there. Everything looks like it's plugged in well and everything. So I think we're good to go. So time to drive down the road. But that'll be a different video. I have a separate video. I'm going to do a short video clip of that, see if there's any sound. This is just to show you how to install it. So I appreciate y'all watching this video. Please like, share, and subscribe. Stay tuned for the next one. See you next time.